Hey, YouTube viewers, welcome back. Hey, Lionshead fire update for those that are interested, and hopefully even folks that are like, "Oh, that's not my fire. I don't need to worry about that," because this is a serious, serious deal right now, and I can't stress how like serious I think that it is. I mean, clearly, like the fire personnel and the fire leaders are not going to tell you how exceptionally dangerous this situation is right now. But I picked up on the GOES live fire detection satellite 10 minutes ago. I've got the screenshot I pulled, but 10 minutes ago, all that orange was red. And that would not be a good sign at all. Not be a good sign at all. I just read the update from the Lion's Head folks who are in charge of that. And we've got the incident commander, Noel Livingston. They tell us the resources on the fire, right? I was saying very early on, and Tuesday I was talking about resources and resources and resources and resources because they're all different types in this situation. Like, I mean, you've got resources for spotters, you've got resources as crews, digging lines, you've got resources, flying helicopters, you've got resources everywhere, right? Doing all sorts of different things. So the resources on the fire is cool. I like that. I like that they're giving us this now, as opposed to just saying we went from 600 to 1,200 firefighters. Does that mean in the lines, right? And I don't know. I took it as like those are the people who are actively like engaged inside of places where the general public couldn't be. Whether that's some sort of maybe outlying like spotter positions out here on the tribe lands, whether they're like timber fallers, whether they're like anyone, right? Anyone can be a part of an operation like this, even someone who's trying to run like some sort of incident command out of a place out here. I don't know. Do they have the ability to have any of this type of software or see any of this while they're in the field so that they can actually be ahead of it? I mean, I would hope they do. I'd hope they have the communication lines to be able to do it because I mean, I'm doing it here right now, recording it. I'm going to post it in 5 seconds, or as soon as I'm done, right? I mean, I could hit the live button, but every once in a while, a kid walks in, or a dog barks, or end up leaving the room or doing something. So, um, no, hey, this is a super, super serious situation here. Just give all thoughts and prayers that you have right now for, the ability for these firefighters to stay safe, right? Because uh, if it jumped a line, which, first of all, the information yesterday was like, talking about the thing that I was talking about almost 48 hours ago. And I've got the screenshots where, we were looking, okay, should we draw this line? Right. And this was well before these spots all showed up. But, you know, we're trying to figure out what is some of the most strategically important areas to keep from burning, right? Maybe that's because it's super tinder. Maybe that's because, it's what we think to be maybe the fire camp of, some of these resources that we have here. Um, 51 crews. So 51 crews. How many people in a crew? Eight minimum. Eight minimum, probably. 8 to 10, 12. I've seen a lot of crews of six as we've been dealing with some of these little spot fires up here in Washington. It starts with six and then it goes to 12. And so, is that one crew or one and a half or three crews? We don't know. We don't totally know. But I'm just thinking that, hey, these 51 crews are at least probably averaging 8 people a crew. 62 engines. Those engines are parts of crews, right? Maybe those engines have their own personnel that are coming with the crew. 11 dozers, right? So at least 11 operators, if not 11 also heavy machinery haulers, because they're trucking those things in on flatbeds. Uh, 49 water tenders, right? So water tender, you got a big water truck. You need probably at least one, if not two people, I would say, to be on the water tending crew, maybe more, right? So, when we're talking about this number of people, and we're looking at this area specifically, and we're looking at Lameti Butte being a very strategic point because 2 weeks ago, this is what this area looked like. And now, this area that we don't want burning, that is super, super hot, is super, super dry and dead, can just whew, all of a sudden whoosh its way down into here and cause what they call torching, or those super high intensity fires that we see when we catch them on the radar, or I mean on the satellite. So when we see those super high temperatures, it's probably a whole strand. It's probably a whole strand that's just burning really hot. Probably all going up at once. When they talk about spots, right? That's where, all right, here's our first line, the power line, right? This is the line that we drew. This is a Lolly Butte, right? Here's the next natural line, is the power line. That's where we saw some super high temperatures come through on the early morning satellites. And then I just kind of drew this line, not as anything other than saying, hey, if you use this creek bed over here on the west slope of CC, and you just kind of drew a line through some of this flat land, and you just were able to clear just a 60-foot path that you could at least just halt this thing so that you could get everything in here cleared out that you needed to. That would give you a chance. And my fear, and we don't know for sure, right? We know there's a bias to the north when we pick up these GOES readings, or at least that's what I'm seeing, and we don't know how spotty these little things are, but it does not bode well for people that are sitting down here trying to build a line or trying to stop this thing, because we've still got a heck of a lot of hot back coming back here. And this just means that it hasn't picked up a live hot enough temp reading in the last 10 minutes, orange. So, active situation out there right now. You know, can't give enough thanks and gratitude for those men and women that are out there doing that right now, and for their families, that are sacrificing just as much to have their loved ones out there. Um, what an amazing situation. When we talk about all those resources, though, there's some of them that are split down here. Good news is on the lower end of this Lionshead fire. I'm going to pull the fire activity and not the live. Um, you can see that the most recent readings from this morning have pretty well clustered in this area. Now, when we look at the MODIS readings from this afternoon, sorry, noonish, 11:40, you can see we've got some pretty high intensity. Uh, you know, maybe a strand of trees, a small strand of trees that's in this fire scar here, that wasn't burned all the way before, is registering real hot. There's real flat land if you can't tell by the contours. Same thing. Maybe this is a pretty big sized fire that's actually pushing its way down south and closing the gap on any of the lines that they drew around here. I'm unfortunately thinking that's probably more the case. Now this is the MODIS or Terra and Aqua satellite view, so these are not as accurate, and there may be some really hot spots in here, and there may be some really controlled spots, but for the most part, this is later this morning, just 5 hours ago, if you will. We're getting some hot reads on both of this. Uh, Call it the table side. The table is a feature, a geographic feature that is named. That is kind of interesting. But you can see right here, it's a pretty flat piece. And so when we look at the fire activity and we see that a lot of these specific heat signatures have been below the table, and then pushing its way down to this 5,000 foot level, is probably something that we expected. If they can keep it above candle and or Cabot Creek, if they can keep it on this ridge line, or on this north side of Sugar Pine Ridge, and keep it into this upper end of this Candle Creek Basin, it'll probably end up merging back with this part, right? So you might end up seeing some more fire activity that has to happen in order for things to get safer for everybody there in Camp Sherman. We're gonna have to go 3 weeks again. Everybody there in Camp Sherman and Black Butte and everywhere else. So you can see if we draw the more accurate satellite readings, some of which as recent as 1245 with the Veers, 1245 Pacific, you can see that we're picking up some more readings that are in this little unburned area, or regrown area, if you will, linking these two fires apart at about this 4,000 foot elevation. Looks like it's going to drop down onto that bench, probably. And if we can see, you're not going to find that there's many areas for them to stronghold other than the wilderness line. Okay, it's not easy for crews that are going to need to get in here. This is all a good chance, a place where we can see fire growth later tonight. This is going to close a gap. It's closing, well, it's technically it's telling us that in the last 3 hours, it's probably closing the gap. If they've drawn this line over here, and we see how easy that is when we're on Indian land and we're on their active tree farm property, we can draw and we can box this thing in. Okay, we can use the Camp Creek or the different creeks that come off of Metolious here. And as we use these different creek drainages, and hopefully this last fire line, this holds it to this portion of the west ridge of the Metolious area. Okay, but I am much more concerned that fire crews outside of helicopters and planes, and even then that's going to be hard with the smoke, are going to have a hard time stopping that fire from getting all this too. Okay, so unfortunately, I think our line is probably Cabot Creek. So we got Cabot Creek as a place where we can just kind of maybe draw a line and see. Hope we're wrong.